Welcome to another Unmuted with Marsha. So pleased that you are joining us again today. And many of you continue to contact us. You're concerned about what is happening with the open border, illegal immigration, and the fact that right now every town's a border town and every state is a border state. And we have seen and heard so much about the illegal aliens coming across the border and some of the crimes that they are committing. And we have seen a recent report about ghost criminals that were found here. And over 100 investigations are taking place into crimes that have been committed by them and by the suspected Venezuelan gang members who are here in the country illegally. These crimes are ranging from sex trafficking in Louisiana to shooting of 2 New York City police officers. And my next guest and his community have experienced this in a really horrific way. This is Harford County Sheriff. And we know that we have seen the interviews that Sheriff Gahler has given over the last few weeks, and we have heard about the crime and the murder that has taken place in his community. Sheriff Gahler, I want to welcome you. And, you know, we have all heard about what has happened in your community. And this is an El Salvadoran that raped and murdered a mom of 5. And I know that you all have been successful in locating and apprehending. And tell us
Good morning,
more.
and yes, and thanks for having me on and an opportunity to again share Rachel's sad story. But again, it's a story that should be told. That Rachel didn't deserve this, and it should not have happened. As you point out, this individual that we've now identified after a 10-month investigation through DNA, through science, through technology, we were able to track him down. Was in this country illegally and took her life. Rachel, 37. I say young because I'm a lot older than that, but you know, a young mother of 5. You know, a sister to a brother and a sister, and the daughter, her mom, Patty, has been with us throughout the investigation and stood there at the news conference. She went out doing her normal routine, and that's something we caution people about. You know, just in public safety, don't develop a routine where it's predictable. But she went out doing her normal thing, which was to exercise. You know, do her errands, and then go out on the Mom and Pa Trail, a very safe hiking trail here in the town of Bel Air. We're about 30 minutes north of Baltimore, but thankfully we do not see the crime that Baltimore sees. We are a very safe community, and in our county, Bel Air is a very safe one, a level even up from that. This trail's been there for more than 20 years, and other than car break-ins, you know, people looking for something free, we see no kind of violent crime until Rachel went out last August to exercise, and sadly, that day her life was ended by someone attacking her on the trail and raping and murdering her.
Yes, and you know, you look at the history of this suspect. February 2023, he illegally entered the country, and that was near Eagle Pass. March of 23, he attacked a 9-year-old girl and mom during a home invasion in LA. And then August, as you just mentioned, raped and killed Rachel Morin. And to me, this is just such a devastating crime. And I know to your community, it has been. I had pulled a quote where you had said, and I'm going to quote back to you, "We are 1,800 miles from the southern border here in Harford County. This is the second woman to be killed by illegal suspects." So talk with our viewers a little bit about that and that concept that every town's a border town, how it affects your community and how it affects the work that you do, because this is now twice that you have had an illegal alien kill someone in your
Yeah, and we're not unique. We're not special in any way. This is happening across. We all know it. This is happening at Lake and Riley in Georgia. There's
yeah.
so many stories. uh, this is not unique to Harford County. This is the problem that every community is seeing. And I wrote a letter in support of when President Trump was trying to build the border wall and secure our southern border. I wrote a letter in support of that back in 18 or 19. So it's not even a new issue to us. But the violent criminals that are coming across, we know that when President Biden came into office, he rescinded so many policies that were working, executive orders that were in effect that were working and keeping the flow down. And what's coming across the border now are sure there's families who are looking to make a better life for themselves, but there are cartels trafficking, there are drugs flowing into our country, and there are criminals and probably terrorists coming across the border as well. For two women in our small county of 260,000 people to lose their lives at the hands, in both cases, of individuals from El Salvador who violently assaulted, in Rachel's case, sexually assaulted her and just brutally murdered her. These shouldn't be happening. Our country is an elected official, as the sheriff of this county, elected by the people, members of Congress on both parties, and whoever's sitting in the White House. We have a duty and a sworn oath to provide public safety, and this is a public safety issue. It doesn't have to be political. It needs to be public safety. Our citizens' safety is our responsibility to do what we can, and it's not being done.
Well, and that's the thing that I think is frustrating to people, is they feel like this is landed at the local law enforcement level, and that it is up to local law enforcement to tend to this. I have legislation, the CLEAR Act, which would require deportation of criminal illegal aliens and allow local law enforcement, when they come into contact with someone who is in the country illegally, that's committed some type of offense or crime, they can hold them and then require ICE to come pick them up, deport them, and then reimburse that local law enforcement agency. What other type of authorities do you all need, or what type of support do you need in order to make certain that these criminal illegal aliens are not going to be in our communities and committing?
Well, certainly, I would be in support of your legislation, as you explained it there. I mean, it's those kind of things, and immigration enforcement and policy is a responsibility of the federal government, but it doesn't mean that local state authorities shouldn't work with our federal partners hand in hand. We do. In this case, could not be a better example of working at all levels cooperatively. Without that level of cooperation, we would not know who killed Rachel. We would not have that man in custody, being returned right as we speak here to our jail here in Harford County to stand trial eventually. But we partner with 280 through the 287G program with federal government immigration and customs enforcement. So what you described on the law enforcement side is sheriff. I have law enforcement and corrections that report to me. On the corrections side, we do exactly what you described. People are screened if they're brought to the jail on some charge related to a violation of state or county law. When they're brought to the jail, they're screened, and if they're here illegally, then that's reported to ICE, and ICE based on two priorities: public safety and national security. Who wants to let those people back out into? I certainly don't, as the sheriff of Harford County. So ICE makes those determinations, and those detainers are honored. So I agree with working hand in hand with our partners, and what can be done. I think that because of the first and foremost is securing the southern border. It has overwhelmed Customs and Border Patrol. I visited the southern border a year and a half ago. I think it was about a year and a half ago, ironically, on the exact same day that Vice President Kamala Harris said the border was secure. My chief deputy and I are standing next to a half-completed border wall with open gates, no lights, no cameras. That's not secure.
You're right about that. And securing that border, I find it so interesting. Border Patrol has told us repeatedly they need three things. They need a barrier. Where they can't have a barrier, they need better technology, and they need more officers and agents. And that's what's necessary to secure that border. Sheriff, thank you so much for being with us. We wish you well. We pray for the families that have been adversely impacted, and we are grateful for you and your team and your persistence in finding this killer and bringing him to trial, and justice for Rachel and her family.
Senator, thank you again for being allowed to share Rachel's story. And she should, in her story, she's not a statistic to us. There's a story there, and a story that did not need to happen. I appreciate the time to share it. Take care.
You got it. Take care. Thank you all for joining us for Unmuted.